I have a talk that I'm going to share with you. I'm going to have a story that I'm going to share with you at a talk that I did at the Genius Network. And in this talk, I had made this decision at the very last second to share a story. And I had written it in and I was prepared to give it and I had practiced it, but I wasn't sure about my timing. And so I had two ways that I was going to make that point. And I just figured I would decide which way I was going to go based on what I was experiencing back from the audience. And at the last second, literally the last second, right before I tell this story is when I made the decision, that's it, I'm going for it. I still, even to that point, wasn't sure if it was going to land or not, but I decided to tell it anyway. So here it is. Check it out, and we'll talk about it afterwards. Tony Robbins told this story once that I love so much. It was about this guy that was born to the perfect parents, and he accelerated in school and sports, went to an Ivy League college where he met the woman of his dreams, graduated from college, got the perfect job, married the girl, lived an incredible life, died at 90 in his sleep, and at his funeral it was standing room only, filled with people who loved and adored him. Nobody wants to hear that story. Okay, let's talk about this. So first things first, you want to be a better speaker, get used to watching yourself speak so that you can learn and grow from that. So a few points that I want to make about this particular story. The first thing is the cadence, the speed at which I am speaking or telling this story. I'm talking fast. It's not my normal cadence, but it's because I have 1 minute left in my talk and the room knows that. I know that, they know that, because I don't know if you can hear it, but there is a chime that goes off in the background that you can hear that says my time is ending. And I also have been watching a countdown timer. So when I made this decision to tell this story, it was with the full understanding that I had 1 minute to tell it in. And I thought that I could, but I knew I was going to have to speed it up a little bit to do it. The second thing I want to point out about this are the details that I decided to keep and the details I decided to drop. When I am preparing for a talk, I practice it like crazy. And to get a story as concise as this story is, there are very deliberate details that I know I'm adding in or that I'm leaving out. So the thing is that you have to practice things like crazy so that you know when you're on a stage, maybe somebody's going to ask you a question and it eats up 10 minutes of your time and you're going to have to navigate, where am I going to make up that 10 minutes? Unless you know your content really well, you're going to struggle to prioritize that. What can stay, what can go. You'll see that once I told the punchline, I paused. And normally I would pause even longer, but again, I only had so much time. So it's important to let the point or the punchline settle in, let them receive it, and then also let them give you feedback about it. They laughed. It was great. The point of this story is that people fantasize. We all fantasize about having some sort of white picket fence life. And a lot of times we're subconsciously comparing our life to other people's lives. And sometimes we might even wish that we had it easier like other people have had. But really, when we think about it, when we boil it down and process it, we don't wish that. These adversities are the things that really make us who we are and make us strong. And we wouldn't be who we are today without it. I could have put a slide up with a white picket fence and just made the point that I just made very briefly. I know we all think we want the white picket fence. We all know what that means. And it paints a visual. I could have done a slide with a quote. I found this quote from Seneca, and it says this. I could have put this up on the slide. No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself. In other words, we don't get a chance to see what we're really made of unless we go through adverse things. So I could put that quote up and say that and make that point. That's another way I could have done the same thing. The reason I decided that it was better to tell the story was because I wanted to create the experience for the audience of the contrast between the content that I had just delivered for the first 95% of the talk, which was total adversity and hardship and climbing and facing really hard things and overcoming them. We had that feeling in our bodies. And I wanted to create a contrast of this perfect life. I also knew that as I walked them through the story, they're going to hear it. And at first, okay, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. And then they're going to start to wait for, they're like, well, where's the conflict? Where's the hard part of this guy's life because we're so used to stories having that in it that we're waiting for it. So I could feel that occurring for my audience as I was telling that story. And then at the end of it, when I tell them that that's it, that's his whole life, we can all revel in the fact that we think that's what we want, but that's not actually what we want. And we can laugh about it because nobody wants to hear that story. It's not that interesting. We want the more interesting life. I wanted them to go through emotions as they heard and experienced that story and to laugh at themselves. And that's me laughing at myself saying, I think I want that, but really it's not what I want. I start every single talk with the outcome. How do I want them to feel at the end of this talk? I love the Maya Angelou quote where she says, people will not remember what you did. They will not remember what you said. They will remember how you made them feel. And I always start every talk as I'm crafting it with that. And my stories are designed to go through that. If there's something that I'm trying to make a point, but I don't need them to feel so much, and that's when I'm going to use a slide with a quote on it. Hope this has been helpful to you. This is my second YouTube video. So if you could please, I can't believe I'm saying this, like and subscribe. It helps me reach more people that this could help. And if you want to share this with someone else, please share it. I would love that. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much.